Hi there and welcome. These are your handover videos for your Bailey Pegasus Messina. These are a basic walkthrough on how to set up and operate the caravan as if you were coming on or off site. So starting off first, you have your black hitch head here with black lever, which you have to have pulled up like so, to then be able to wind down the jockey wheel onto the tow bar, causing that to snap down, pressing up that red button and exposing a green ring. Now occasionally that handle itself may not stand up on itself, just need a bit of WD-40 down on those pins. You then have your breakaway cable just here, which legality states if you have an eye point it has to be used, if not wrap it around the tow bar. Just ignore the police. You then have 13-pin electric here, so if you do have 7-pin adaptation on your tow vehicle, make sure to bring an adapter. You then have your handbrake here. Now these are a gas strut handbrake, so to release, pull it back slightly, press in on the button and press down. And what you want to do is just pull up. You'll hear the first initial click, second click, give it a lunge back for that third click. 2 points either side and 2 points at the back. You have inserts for your legs. Now the caravan itself comes with a leg winder, or if you'd like to be more efficient, you can get your drill and a 19mm drill bit. Do not attempt to jack up or level the caravan using your legs. It will put excessive pressure on them. So just level first using your jockey wheel, then put down your legs. Now today we are using test equipment. So first up, have the plug in for the mains just here. Mains plugs in nice and easy, giving you 240 volts power. Now you can run the caravan off 12 volt, however you will not have access to certain components and it will take a lot of charge out the ledge battery. Moving along this side, first up I've got an aqua full of clean drinking water just here and your water pump. The water pump to be removed, you press in on this trigger, pull out like so. You can see that this one has pins on it, which is for the electric pump. You then have this cap to go over the top of the aqua to make sure no nastiness gets in, and then right at the bottom you have your strainer. Now it's crucial that the strainer sits at the bottom of the barrel to allow the maximum potential water to come through. These hoses can curl up, they do have a tendency to do so, so my recommendation is to get yourself a bit of PVC piping or something similar to then be able to wrap it around so it's always nice and straight. However, plugging this in, nice and simple, press in, can't be removed without pressing in the trigger unless you fancy breaking plastic. Then here we have your flue. Flue is used to get clean air in and out of your boiler when operating on gas. Don't have to do anything with this except make sure it's nice, clean and tidy. You then have your gas locker. You have 2 holsters for gas bottles just here, which you have to have essentially wrapped around just so it's not going to fly all over the gaff. And then as my test bottle, I've got a red propane bottle. I'd always recommend propane over butane because it has a better performance throughout winter. Then I've got a gas hose here. Now this one is production date 2025 and that connects onto this regulator here. Now you hand tighten that as much as you physically can and then nip it up using a spanner. You don't want it ridiculously tight because that will cause pressure on the O-ring. So you can see on your example, it's got an O-ring here, too much pressure, that's fighting against it. It has then caused it to crack, break and gas to leak out. But once both sides are firmly connected, twist the gas bottle in the positive or open direction. And lastly, we have your toilet function. So, is it under there you go. You have 2 points here which you can open up the caps and that allows your wastewater to come out. You'll need some 28.5mm waste pipe to then feed into a waste master that you can empty out at the appropriate point on site. Here you have your cassette. Now to remove it, you press up on the orange handle and pull out towards yourself. You can just do that. So you can see this handle does extend out and up, so it can be used similar to a carry-on suitcase. What you want to do is twist this head to the side, open up this cap like so. You then want to tilt, and at the same time as tilting, continually pressing your vent button. Now, my recommendation as you probably just heard, is to put in some fresh water, give it a bit of a shake and again tilt and vent, just so it doesn't honk. Then once you've done, just give it another quick tilt and vent. Then on this cap here you have measurements in both imperial and metric, and that is for your blue chemical. Blue chemical goes into there, back it on, twist it to the side and push it in, so the handle itself sits behind the white teeth. Then above you have your flush tank. The flush tank itself has a capacity to hold around 12 litres of water. However, I wouldn't recommend putting in any more than 10 as you don't want to overfill the compartment. You could also add some pink chemical which works as a bleach without being corrosive and makes it smell a bit nicer. However, please do not put actual bleach down it. It is plastic. It will go wrong. Now you don't want to travel with either of these two full. So it should just be... Is it off to the side? Hold up. There we go. So you've got this little bung which sits to the side. Open that up to drain off any remaining water from the tank. The caravan itself will be fully drained off before you leave with it. Underneath your right hand side seat you have your boiler just here. You also have an access point for the storage here. The main bit to note is you have this yellow drain valve just there. Now when it's facing the upright position, that is in drain mode, which is how you're going to collect the caravan. November to March, have that up permanently unless you're actively using the caravan, and at any time you come off site to give it a drain off. Then just where your table leg is, you have all of your trips and fuses. All your trips in the upright position and all your fuses in the correct position. I'd always recommend carrying some extra fuses across the van with you. And just here we have your main control panel. So you have your on and off master switch just here. You then have internal lights with that switch, and then you just use your respective switches across the caravan. Awning light on, double check on the outside, which you can see. And then you have this button here, which is your pump button. So when I press that in, you can see that green light comes on. What that green light is representing is that it means that water is being drawn from the acroll to the boiler itself. That green light will stay on until the actual boiler itself is full. Once it is full, it will then go off, and then what you want to do is you want to come over to your sink and check that the water's running through. So whilst we wait a minute for that to come through, you can see just a little bit more is coming through there. I will show you your Truma control panel. So this here is your heating control panel. You have a back button, you then have a dial which is also a button. So to turn it on, press in on the button. You can see that mains is in and it says it's 8 minutes past 5. It's not, it's just been reset on the panel. So press in on the button, and first up you have is the van temperature. Press that in, starts at 5 degrees and works its way up to 30. 30 is the maximum. So when I select it, you can see a little flame comes on, and then it's using its previous history there. So next up we have water temperature. So it's either eco, hot or boost. Now boost will prioritise heating the actual boiler itself over heating the caravan for around about half an hour. After that half an hour, it will then drop it down to eco. And again, you can see whatever is selected is pressed on the top. Next you have energy source. So you can either use strictly gas, represented there, gas with either 1 or 2 kilowatts of electric, or strictly electric with 1 or 2. So you've got the choice of gas, mains or both. You then have your fan speed. So it's either eco, high or boost. Eco is nice and steady, high is a lot more vigorous. A boost is keeping it on the high setting but prioritising heating the van over heating the water. So you've got the choice, either prioritise the water, prioritise the van, or let them both just sort of mull together. Now let's say I didn't have the heating on at all, completely off. I then go back over to this fan setting and it's either off or vent. Now what vent does, it will circulate the air that is across the caravan just so you've got some nice fresh air. So you can open up your windows, allow some air to come through. You then at the bottom have a timer. So you select your start time. First the hour, then the minute. It is a 24-hour clock. And then the end time. And that will allow the heating and hot water to operate throughout them times and then cut off when it's not active. You then have the correct time, which again you select the hours, then the minute. And then you have at the bottom the spanner icon, which is your additional settings: offset, temperature, brightness, 12 or 24 hour clock, language, index and reset. I'm not going to go through that, as we have set this to what we believe the most user friendly to use. However, if you'd like to have a look inside your booklet, please do so. Now let's say you don't want the heating on in the slightest. You'll press and hold in. It'll then come up off, and if I interact, it's not working. And if you want the heating on, you press and hold in on that dial. Naturally, the screen will go to this green colour when not interacted with in around 5 minutes. So that is normal. However, we've now drawn the water through. There is no more light there. So you open up your tap. Now it might be a case that the system is overly pressurized, so you get some coughs and splutters to start off with. But what you're looking for is a nice, steady, continuous stream. You let this run for about 30 seconds. Now, if it does cough and splutter, check the drain valve, check the acroll, and check that the pump is situated at the bottom of the barrel. Now, if you're going to be using the other sink and the shower, pull it through, starting off at the furthest point away, being the shower. But you just let it run nice and evenly for a little bit of time. Check it on hot as well. You can see, because I've not had the boiler on, it's coughing and spluttering because there's no hot water in the boiler. But you can see now as well that the green light has come on there. So when I shut that up, you'll hear the faint whir pulling through the water again. And once it is full, there'll be no more green light, which you can see just there. So super simple to use. And here we have your toilet operation, which is bog simple. So lift up the lid, press in the button, and you can hear that motor. That motor is what will push through any water in the system. So just so you can hear again. There you go. Then to remove your waste, press away on this handle, opens up the catch, pull it back towards you, and it shuts it up. Once the cassette outside is full, there'll be a red light under there telling you to empty. Then here we have your hob, grill and oven. So all of this operates on gas, minus the electric plate. For that, spin it to whatever mark, and it will get to temperature. Everything else, what you have to do is press in on the dial, twist it to the side, and press your igniter. Now, it may be a case with these that it will then light and then cut out, or it may just take a while to light. That is natural if you haven't used it in a while. It is just the gas making its way through the system. So this is what it looks like when they're all lit. As you can see, all burners nice and lit. That's the same concept for your grills. So let's see if I can do this with one hand. Now, as you can see, one side is lit and then the other in this case. Again, that's natural. And then lastly, your oven. So press in, twist to the side, and you can see that's all nice and lit. Make sure this tray isn't impeding on the igniter, as then it will stop it being able to light. Only other thing to know, if you're traveling with gas bottles, make sure you turn the bottles off. And you need to travel with this glass sheet down, but don't put it down until all the burners are cold to the touch. Then here we have your Dometic fridge operation. So we're currently off. Turn it over and you can see blue lights are on. So you've got 3 different choices for source. You can either use mains. That battery symbol is representative of 13-pin electric whilst you're towing. It is not leisure battery. And then at the bottom we have gas. Over on this side we have this dial. The thicker the bar, the more power coming in, the quicker it's going to chill. Even on maximum capacity, it takes around 4 hours to fully chill. However, if we're wanting to use gas, what we have to do is press in on this and press in on this igniter at the same time. Now, I would recommend to run through all of the hob, grill and oven first. The same for if you're putting through the heating, just so you can make sure it's all coming through. But what you want to do is press and hold on both of these. You'll hear it slightly tick, and then this orange bar will float over into the green. It does take a few seconds and it is quite firm, but this is what it looks like when it's over. As you can see, it's floated over to the green, but as soon as I switch it over to something like mains, it will then drop out. And even if I were to switch it back to gas, it will jump in, but then it will fall out.